pod, I have with me, oh look, we're in the studio today, and I have with me my good friend Cora Forsten.
Forsten. Yeah, you
How do
know.
I say that? Swedish, Finnish, American.
Yeah, you know, it's a little bit different. Forsten. That's what they say in the States. Forsten.
Forsten. I
Yeah.
would say Forsten. In Australia, I go Forsten.
Yeah, it sounds like the Americans.
Anyway, this is
I
Cora.
respond.
This is Cora. And we're going to have a chat about Cora, who she is and what she does. So, who are you?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I am a naturopath and an acupuncturist, and I currently work here in Stockholm, Sweden. We moved here, 3 years ago now from the States.
It's been a long 3 months.
It has been, right? So I had a practice in Portland, Oregon, and then we've moved here recently, and I've started up again. So functional medicine, health, Chinese medicine, really about trying to get to the root cause of things and kind of getting people their power back so they can start taking control of their lives again and get their health under control.
Cool. So now I have to apologize. We did this interview last year, and then I made a technical. I tried to get fancy and it didn't work. So we're doing it all again, and we've had this conversation before, but it's going to be totally different because we're new and in a different space, and life has changed between the last conversation and the conversation we're having now. But one of the things that I really enjoy about these conversations is the story of how you got into doing what it is that you're doing. So tell me, what was that moment that you had where you've gone, yeah, this is where I am. This is what I'm going to be when I grow up.
Yeah, I think that I was always interested in medicine, always interested in people. But I was fortunate enough, my mom was an EMT growing up, so we were always around, we had a good understanding of health, we had a good understanding of the body, how it worked, and of course, kind of how to react and handle in trauma. But that being said, my mom, when I was when my youngest brother was born, I was about 9. She started switching over and seeing a chiropractor in the U.S., which is a lot like an old school naturopath at that time period. He also did Chinese medicine. Yeah. Yep. Texas is an unlicensed state for naturopaths. And so at that time period, the training for the chiropractic school was actually very similar to a naturopathic background.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because in Australia, chiropractic training is like a medical degree. It's like 6 years long.
Yeah, it's really different.
Yeah.
For sure, in the different places. But what's cool about, his training then, too, is that it was like that full medical training, and it was really, again, that focus on health, nutrition, kind of getting back to the basics. And so it was a lot more than just spinal manipulation, for instance. And then he had also complemented that with Chinese medicine. So around that time, we kind of started getting introduced to this different concept of what health is, what disease is, what it means to be healthy and free from disease, kind of optimal functioning versus just getting by.
Yep.
As a kid, I don't know that I paid quite as much attention. It was interesting to me, but I was a big athlete. And so I realized that whenever I got injured, I bounced back. And I had a pretty big injury my sophomore year of high school. And I partially fractured my femur, or a hairline fractured my femur and partially tore my MCL. Right in the middle of soccer season. But my mom picked me up. We got straight in.
Sorry, MCL, medial cruciate ligament.
Yes. The knee, essentially. Yes. And 6 weeks, I was back, and I ran 3 miles that next day.
You're back 6 weeks from grade 1 and grade 2 tear from your MCL, and you're 6 weeks from go to work.
Yeah, and clean x-ray before and after. So, I mean, we worked hard. And I guess, part of it is that, my mom was able to manage my care at home, right? So we had a professional at home. But more than that, we had access to this regular care, and I was able to kind of stay mobile and stay training, kind of doing the reclined bike. And I saw, in a sense, what was possible, right? When you're supporting the body. And at that time, sports was kind of the biggest thing in my life. And it just started to make sense. The way he saw health, I asked a lot of questions, started talking about it, and it just started to click. It was like all of a sudden, you realize that you've learned a new language and made sense. And so around that time, I was like, I think I want to study this. And I thought at the time that I'd kind of focus on sports medicine. And yeah, it probably wasn't until a bit later. I went to undergrad in California because it was a nice little hippie school in California, and it had an cross-cultural health and international studies program. which I combined with the pre-med background. So I got to, play with all the fun energetics of things, look at health from different cultures, and kind of look at kind of how we combine, rigorous science testing with a lot of these kind of other traditions that are also showing to be effective, right? And different kind of ways that we do research. So always fascinated with that. And then I found a school up in Portland, Oregon, the National College of Natural Medicine. It was NCNM at the time. And they had both a naturopathic doctorate, which I had no idea what it was when I applied, and a very solid classical Chinese medicine program. And I knew I wanted to do the acupuncture. I knew I wanted to do the herbs, but I was also really interested in sciences, right? And an in-depth medical background. And the naturopathic is a 4-year naturopathic doctorate program, which really gives you that solid foundation, and it lets you practice as a primary care physician in Oregon.
Wow.
So it was, for me, that was a hell of a lot of work, but it was a great combination to really kind of let me go between worlds, right? Of this kind of conventional medical thinking, bringing in a lot of functional medicine, how to really look and optimize your lab work, your health, how do we bring in nutrition, and then being able to combine a lot of these more, ancient techniques of process-oriented healing, as well as physically working with the body. And for me, it's ended up being a language that works for me, and then I get to try to translate to patients, so we get good results.
Yeah. Wow. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's definitely off the beaten path, but I've got job satisfaction, so I like it.
I think one of the things that I really enjoy in our professional relationship, and full disclosure, Cora is my go-to person for when I'm having issues with my body. I go in there, Cora, this hurts, and she comes in, and then it goes away, which is awesome. But your ability to mix. Now, let me get this straight in my head before I offend somebody with what I'm about to say. Your ability to explain and help everybody, but to understand the connection rather than the separation between the science and, in inverted commas, the natural medicine there. So, because, for me, in all honesty, up until I met you, and as a massage therapist and a personal trainer, naturopathy gets put in the hippy-dippy mung bean bucket, right? And it comes with this really big, broad stroke paintbrush of, you're a hippie, what are you doing? This stuff doesn't work. But you come at me with actual, real, proper science. When I ask questions, you throw science at me, and I go, "Wow, this okay." And it's the part of me that likes the science can't argue with, right? What you're throwing at me, so that I can go, "Yeah, this stuff actually works." For you, I'll put a question in there somewhere. Yeah, there's a question coming. For you, how important is that? I mean, obviously it's important because you do it, but how important is that to be able to help people understand that it's not just hippy-dippy mung bean? There's actual real science behind what you're doing.
It is, I'd say it's pretty fundamental, because it's fundamental for me, but it's also fundamental for me to make sure that my patients, my clients, the people that I'm working with, that they understand not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it, right? So, and that's, part of that is, some of that philosophy that differs, right? So, we're talking about the fact that, science, there's so much we can work with, right? And it's a difference in language. We're pulling out different lenses, right? So, we've got information coming in different routes, and we kind of just need to figure out how to translate it. But for me, patient compliance, working together, working as a team, this is what empowers people to actually get changes. Because when we're talking, I deal mostly with chronic health, chronic illness stuff. Sure, pain, management, that stuff. A lot of times that's chronic as well. It's not that the medicine doesn't work greatly acutely, and I do definitely treat acute as well, but really our society needs chronic healthcare right now, right?
Yeah.
And we're seeing that even more now in these most, recent 3 months. But this has been I was going to say in Swedish, I was going to say brist. It's been, you know, a scarcity, right?
Yeah. A scarcity.
Yes.
Yep.
And I ask people to make lifestyle changes. You know, I want them to be committed to the treatment they're working because I want to get lasting change. You know, my goal isn't just to substitute the medication that you're taking with another herb or something more natural, right? The idea is that we actually want to get to the underlying illness, that imbalance, fix it and strengthen your body so that you can get back to doing what's generally healthy, right? Yep. Eating well, exercise, drinking water, socializing in a good way. Like those things should be enough for you to take care of yourself.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we've had enough traumas, whether it's, you know, physical, medical, emotional, whatever it is that kind of comes in, environmental, and it puts blocks in our body's ability to heal itself. Right? So if I can get people along on that road, and science is a way to back that up, is the same way that we work through. You've been in sessions with me, you know, I work a lot physically, right? And we check in often to see, are you feeling this shift? Are you getting this change? Is it better? Is it worse? So that not only am I speaking to your reason and your logic, but I'm also speaking to your body and your objective experience of it. Subjective experience. We're doing both. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. We got them both covered. Because what we want is, you know, a commitment to health. And I know that this is not a 1-2 time visit and we're done. It's a big lifestyle change. And I don't think that I'm not setting people up to take care of themselves if we're not on the same page. Yeah. And science that lets us do that. And it gives us a language to understand each other. Plus it's fascinating. Yeah. I mean, it truly is fascinating.
I know, right?
So
it's really cool. So when you say you've got a client that come to you and they have a block, what is that? What does that mean? On all levels, right? On this level and this level out here, what is a block?
Yeah, it could be anything from like a physical trauma. You can use the example of a car accident, or maybe you know, never fully recovered after a surgery or a medication. It could be, you know, grief is a big one, right? I definitely have a lot of people coming in with big emotional aspects, right, that are kind of keeping them from functioning. And you can see how one thing leads to the other, right?
Can we unpack that a little bit? Just to be clear, we're not diagnosing, we're just talking and nerding out over information, people. So using grief as an example, right? And everybody's body is different. Everybody does different things with their processes. But can you pinpoint or find, what's the word I'm looking for? Familiar things in a person's body where you can go, yeah, this person is dealing with grief. Do you know what I mean? I go to the doctor. Yeah. I go, I'm getting headaches, and their first thing is go take a painkiller. Right. Rather than going, why are you getting headaches? Yeah. Okay. So somebody comes to you and they go, I'm getting headaches or whatever. That's the thing they're looking for. And then you're going to go, what we need to deal with is your grief. Yeah. Is there not a regular, that's not the right
part
word.
of it is that, you know, it looks really different. Like, I don't have 15-minute check-ins. Yeah. So when it comes in, especially that first visit, you know, that first visit is an hour and a half with me. And that includes treatment. It includes physical exam. But we spend a good 45 minutes chatting. And it's about getting to know the whole person. And that's their whole story and what they've been through. Because as you start to get a really good history and intake, not only am I putting together, okay, so this symptom came on around this time in this major event and how that could have played. Because what our body does is our body tries to adapt. It's all about survival, right? And for a while, it's just about getting through the acute immediate. And then at some point, we have to let go of what we were using to compensate. Otherwise, it starts gumming up the system and it doesn't work as well, right? So we get coping mechanisms, and you can, you know, apply that kind of widely. But until we go through a really detailed history and get to know someone, we're not going to see all of that. And I think what's actually cool is, so I do that, right, as we're kind of talking through and we go through the whole body and all of the systems, timelines, when things happen, patients start processing it too. And they'll come back to me like, you know, we talked about this and it occurred to me that this has been going on since this time. And you can start to kind of put things together. And that, I mean, that is growth on several levels, right? Because when you come in, you know, getting healthy, getting fit, it shouldn't be about coming into someone and say, fix me, right? we're helping guide people, remove these roadblocks, strengthen, but we're teaching them how to do this themselves. And we can't separate out the mental, emotional from the physical. They're inherently entwined. We wouldn't survive if they weren't, right? So
can't separate out the mental and emotional from the physical.
Yeah. I mean, that is how we have evolved.
Yep.
Right? So that work requires people to do work on their own. So we work together. It's more of a team rather than kind of this, kind of conventional patriarchal medical system. Smash the patriarchy.
How do you, as a practitioner, help somebody understand that particular concept? Because that's one of my favorite things. For me here, you've done work with me here as well, is that having people understand that, a chronic injury isn't necessarily just because you fell over on the ice 30 years ago. It's because something else happened, or we're still holding on to pain from car accident, blah, 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 and we need to unwind that. Mm-hmm. What path do you take when you're trying to get somebody to understand that, you're not here to take a pill, we're here to do the work to fix whatever it is that you're here for in the first place?
I think, it's a lot of education, and that's part of taking the time to do it. And that's getting in the language, and it's kind of pointing out how things work. And I think, the other part of it is, I think, by the nature of the medicine that I do, it takes a while for people to come to me.
Yep.
And it's often that they have been down several other roads, and they're saying, I'm tired of taking the pills, I'm not getting the results, I don't know what to do, I need something. And so they're more open to explore, I think.
Is that frustrating, knowing that you're not the first port of call? Do you know what I mean? Is it like, God, why can't people change? Why can't we live in a different world where we are the first port of call instead of...
you do the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, true.
And it's not like we haven't been through our own healing journeys to get where we need to get to.
Yeah. Right.
And so, you're serving a need. It doesn't. Because the thing is what is so rewarding is when people actually start to shift and change. They see that change. And it's like the difference of needing glasses and not having glasses. And then when you finally go in, you get your eyes checked, they give you a pair of glasses, and everything is so much clearer. And you're like, gosh, why didn't I do this earlier? Everything is so much clearer.
Yep.
It's that aha moment that people have that's so rewarding. So no, I'm happy. I love solving problems and puzzles, especially. I love talking to people, getting to know their stories. And so work's enjoyable for me. We sort through these things together, and that shift and change for them when it's been so hard for them is just rewarding on its own. So no, I don't worry that I'm a little further down the protocol, right? I'm that steward that sends them onto a new path.
On the other side of that is, if you are further down the port, like we say, is that people are more likely to comply if it's working. Comply to a lifestyle change if they when they start to see results, as opposed to things that, because nothing else has worked so far, and they start to feel change and see result, and they go, this is actually working. Cool.
Yeah, I would say in some ways, some people need that. Of course, I have people that have already kind of figured this out, and they've sought me out just because they know what to look for.
Yeah.
Right. But by nature of what we're doing, we're not doing a quick fix. It requires effort and input from a patient. And if they're not really willing to put effort into their health, they're just not going to get very far. And then, it just also might not be a good fit because they're going to keep looking for those faster solutions. And that's totally at their own pace.
Yep.
And they're doing that. And, we will still be here when they're ready to start putting the work in.
Exactly.
So I think what is different is we're talking about a paradigm shift where patients, clients are starting to take responsibility over their own health. And that's really where we have the most work to do, and to teach people how to do that. So, sometimes it's a long journey before you're ready to start taking control of your own health, and you need a little bit of extra motivation and struggles.
Bit of struggle. So, I wasn't sure I was going to go here today, but I'm going to go here today because this is where we're at. So if you're watching this in the future, it is currently the end of April 2020, and we are in the middle of global pandemic, coronavirus, COVID-19 thing. Yeah.
What's coming?
Fix us! No, I've got a couple of questions brewing in my head. but I want to start with, now that a lot of us are being, we've actually just spoken about this. Cora and I are not being forced to slow down at all. But now that most of us are being forced to slow down and spend time with our family, immediate family unit, and not get out and do our regular routine, as a naturopath, do you have some survival tips for people out there?
Yeah.
For, how to nourish their body, how to create space for them to actually cope with, the fact that our survival instincts have just been triggered.
Yeah.
And we're living in a state of, in inverted commas, fear.
For sure. Yeah. So, part of it depends a lot on what country you're living in and what you're able to do.
So statistically right now, most of my viewers are in Sweden.
All right.
But we've got a few from the States. We've got quite a few from Australia as well. So
I think a lot of it is I kind of look at the things that we have a little bit more control over, right? So for instance, what we're eating. That's something that we've got a little bit more control over right now. That we don't have the same scarcity here in Sweden as in other places. You can absolutely still get a hold of your good quality foods. I'm going
to take you back a step. What is a good quality food?
Yeah. So we are talking about ideally, right, which is a little bit harder to find, but ideally you're going to want locally grown, organic, minimally processed food, right? Protein, we want that to be grass-fed. We want to choose really as little processed food as possible, right? So anything that you're making at home, you know exactly what's going into it, right? So you're getting your fresh vegetables, you're getting your fresh fruits, you can choose good fats, quality proteins, getting enough water. We have access to these resources, right? And some of that for sure varies on income level as to what you can buy. But
why, and this is a question that always sits in the back of my head, and I have my answer for this, but I'm curious to know your answer. Why is the less processed the foods, the better for us? Why is that?
Yeah. There are a ton of additives that get put into food, right? So everything from chemicals to lots of extra salt to extra sugar, food colorings. There's just so many fillers really that goes into it. So you're just, not only are you not getting the nutritional value of it, you are adding extra stuff that your body has to process that it doesn't actually get nutritional value in, but there's, your liver's having to work a lot harder to clear a lot of this stuff out. Yep. So for instance, right now, a lot of people have been talking about that there's heightened states of inflammation, right? And that this inflammation is a bit of a predisposing factor. We see this kind of shown out in diabetes, high blood pressure, these type of things. So when you start to cook more simply and eat less processed food, we start to reduce the overall inflammation in our body. Okay. Right? So it's one of those things. Tons of research, right? When you start to look at, how do we control diabetes? How do we control high blood pressure, for instance? One of the staples of that is your diet and your nutrition, right? The problem is a lot of people they struggle, I would say, to make those big changes.
Okay, so, and, on a practical level, what is a good change to be making? So, my mind immediately goes from having highly processed white bread to having a good grainy bread.
Something more like good whole grain, right?
Yeah.
Organic if you could do it. Making, those substitutions. So, starting simple soups are a good simple way to go. Yeah. Roasting vegetables is another good simple way to go. They're not complicated. You can kind of get them in the oven and forget about them and come back to them. At the same time, you start to kind of unlock a lot of that good nutrition, makes it a little bit easier to digest. I would say, it's not necessarily the time to make really fancy, extravagant recipes, right? But if you can look at something...
It is if you do at home doing nothing.
But maybe even just thinking about, instead of getting a can of chicken noodle soup... See what it takes to actually make some on your own, right? One of those things that we've been talking about, since the beginning of dawn, is good bone broth, right? And this is a great time to do.
we're going to talk later about. We can talk about it now.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk later about bone broth too.
Yeah. So for instance, right, that's one of the great things that you can make is a good actual stock. We used to do this.
Do you have a recipe? You do have a recipe.
We
You've
do
sent
have
me
a recipe. Yeah,
we're going to put the recipe in the show notes for the good stock bone broth. Anyway, keep going.
Which is great. So it makes a good base, right? This makes a good base for any type of soups that you do. You can cook, rice in it. You can just drink it as it is. What's really nice about a good bone broth, right? And there are vegetarian versions as well. You can do some off of vegetables as well. Is that it really helps to pull the nutrition out of the bones, right? So you're getting a bunch of vitamins, minerals that are really easily absorbable.
So to translate this into my part of my brain that's 19 years old and doesn't want to, likes to have things very simple, is essentially what you're doing is when you make your own bone broth, you're making a vitamin shake for yourself.
In a sense,
So
that's highly absorbable.
Instead of having, instead of spending thousands of dollars on protein shakes and that kind of stuff, make a bone broth.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and it's fantastic because it's easily absorbable, readily available, good quality nutrition. Because you can go out and buy a whole bunch of vitamins, but it makes a really big difference in what form they are. And they also have a lot of fillers. So there's that difference in quality, right? Whereas if you're starting with a good quality food-based start, right, you can really kind of help to concentrate that. Not to mention the fact that it gets a lot of glutamine, which is really good in replenishing that gut lining. So this is one of those things that's really great for leaky gut. It helps to really kind of just regenerate those intestinal cells that you've got. It's great for any type of needing to build up, right? So if you've been sick for a while and need something simple to digest that your body doesn't have to spend a lot of energy in, but get good quality nutrition. For instance, when I was talking about my knee injury, right? These are the building blocks, literally the bones, the tendons. And so we're getting that nutrition that's really making it rapidly bioavailable. Yeah. It's just quality nutrition that's not expensive as long as you're, just cook it simply at home. The key is adding a little bit of vinegar. Some recipes call for a little bit of white wine, but you need that to be able to kind of just leach it out.
Okay.
You would start with any kind of leftover bones that you have at home. Yeah. You could do chicken, fish, turkey, beef, whichever you have. But there are also some vegetable-based ones that you can do. And then it's a great simple one. And you can build your super healthy chicken noodle soup on top of that, right? Nice. So simple recipes, quality ingredients, kind of getting down that nutrition, right? We start to look at things that kind of aggravate inflammation. Yeah, it's sugar. That's carbs, and it's what we all reach to when we're stuck at home inside and stressed out, right? That's what the adrenal starts to do, right? It starts to, we get into that fight or flight space and we want quick fuel, right? To deal with it. So nutrition is a good one. Finding ways to exercise, getting out. And then, it's a good time to, see if you can get into some more of these mindfulness practices, right? Some people like to meditate. Some people like to do yoga. Whether you are getting into your art or your music, there needs to find some space for some sanity time. Yeah. I know it's hard as a parent. Yeah. When it's filled with constant chatter.
Especially if
we've got kids in the same age. There is constant chatter.
I love my kids. I love them. They're amazing.
Yes. Yes, they are.
I need silence. Anyway, that's a totally different subject.
Can't buy silence. It's very hard to come by.
Totally different subject. We'll talk about that one day. When they're grown and moved out of home. There'll be other things to worry about. So we're getting into some basic building blocks of nutrition, right? We're getting mindfulness and that kind of stuff. Yep. If somebody is, and I think about myself, I've been thinking about this over the past weekend coming up for this chat. My nervous system right now is on fire. I stubbed my toe the other day and it went right through my entire body. What's something I can do at home to help me calm? For me, what happens is I get really tight and I can't relax. And I imagine I'm not the only person feeling like this at the moment.
Right. So there are a bunch of things, right? Tons of breathing exercises out there you can do. I'm a big fan of the adrenal relief pose. I don't know if you know this one. So the idea is that you take a bench or a stool or edge of a bed, right? And so you're laying on the floor, and then you put your legs up so that you're
square.
Yeah, so that you're kind of get this 90-degree angle, right? And the idea to that is that it kind of it sort of turns off this fight or flight response.
Okay.
And so it kind of helps to slow down blood circulation back to the center, focus on your breathing. And it really, I think it comes kind of from the yoga pose where you've got your feet up on the wall. But it really starts to kind of slow things down. And you'd be surprised. It's really kind of restorative. I did this all through when I was coming back to playing sports. I had chronic fatigue when I was starting undergrad, college. And I was that sophomore year, I was just getting back to playing. And I had these short windows that I could play. And so I would play in the game, and I'd come out, and I'd take 5 minutes on the bench. I'd do my adrenal relief pose and be like, all right, coach, I'm back. Like, let's head back in. And it was amazing how much it would just kind of help moderate, right, that autonomic nervous system.
Yeah.
So so that one I like, right? Like I said, there's like the different kind of breathing ones that kind of moderate the autonomic nervous system. Belly breathing, that one I do with the kids too. Belly breathing I do with the kids, which they're great. There's some good, essential oils that help people calm down, finding those routine, those rituals. There are acupressure points that are helpful to massage, for instance. You stub in your toe, there's there's some things you can do specifically, right, to help with the pain. But the other part of it is, trying to find these kind of ways to kind of let go. Not going for stimulants is the other thing, right? So things that key up our nervous system all the time.
You telling me
sugar,
I'm not allowed to drink
coffee, right? Caffeine. No, I'm not saying you can't drink it. I'm just saying that, it's one of those things that does hype up our sympathetic nervous system. It just kind of takes the adrenals and presses go, which is great when we need it, right? But eventually we start to kind of run out of gas. Either that or we've got the gas pedal on all the time, and then we're just hyper reactive to everything. So, I mean, of course, there's herbs, there's acupressure points, there's a lot of things like that. But I think there's a lot you can just do at home to be able to relax.
You know what? I think it's really interesting. This adrenal relief pose is something that I do on a daily basis. It's my favorite thing to do. I get the ball down, I put my legs up on the ball, and I just lie there and breathe for a minute or two.
You lay there, you open your chest, you put your arms kind of in that like anatomical position. And it really does. It just kind of opens things up, gets your circulation going, and gives you a minute to catch up.
Cool.
And like I said, the belly breathing with the kids is good. I find that the kids can get pretty wound up before bed, too, and getting them to kind of settle down. And, they hear a lot about what's going on, and they're worked up about the virus and all the changes and not getting to see their friends as much. And so I feel like they've also had some extra nightmares. And that's when I've started doing... Do you know about Dream Treehouse?
No.
I find this thing is great, right? So as I'm kind of getting the kids wound down, after kind of books, lights are out, kind of calm down, take a couple quiet breaths, and then we take a little trip. It's a guided meditation, right?
Yeah.
And so we take a little trip. They get to decide how they want to get to their dream tree house, right? Like my daughter has a flying unicorn that she wants to ride. So we get on that unicorn, and we, take a look at all the rainbows and, all the little trees below us as we get there, and then we kind of have a little fika with her friends, mostly other ponies.
Cool.
And some fairies and some, mermaids. And then she gets to take a look in her dream telescope.
Wow.
Right? And see where she wants to go. And so she kind of gets to have a control of what she wants to dream about.
So my mind immediately goes to, are you teaching your kids how to lucid dream?
In a sense, right? And you can see them, and you'll hear, she's like, oh, and they have bad dreams. And I was like, okay, well, tell me about this. And then she just switches, right? Yeah. And she goes into this other space. My son, that's all, he's built these flying machines. We head over there. He's got a robotics workshop. He looks at his dream telescope. He says he looks up into the stars, and he gets an instruction booklet. And he takes it into his little robot workshop, and he wants to see what he got to build, right? But they're loving it, and it just kind of changes the story, right? And it gets them to focus on small details, and I feel like it gives them control again. So,
God, I'm going to do that for myself.
Well, it is, right? It's totally a good technique that you can do either way. I feel much calmer after it, right? I've been, to the robot shop and off to the undersea adventure. But it settles things down, and it makes us feel like we've got some control in the situation, especially in a time when we don't. And I feel like the kids notice that, so it's nice to give them some control too. So those are some tips.
Yeah, good tips.
Yeah.
Anything else in there?
Gosh, There's a bunch of stuff. There's always something running through my head. It's just a matter of fishing it out.
All right, so let's try and fish it out. So you've given us some good nutrition tips. You've mentioned acupressure or acupuncture because we're on video.
That's true. We can show you a couple points.
Yeah, show us a couple points, but we're going to describe it because we're going to put the audio up on the pod.
So there are a couple great points just to calm down your sympathetic nervous system, help balance that autonomic nervous system. So we talk a lot about parasympathetic and sympathetic.
Touch me in a second, I can feel it.
So just for people who aren't familiar, right?
Yep.
Autonomic nervous system is what is done without you thinking about it. If we had to think every time to remind ourselves to breathe, we would all be dead. So the idea is this is something that just happens on its own.
Sorry, I'm just reminded of a joke that I'm not going to say. Sorry, people. If you want the joke, message me.
There you go. Part of that, right, is the gas pedal. That's your fight or flight.
Yep.
That's your sympathetic nervous system. The other part's the brake. That's your parasympathetic. That's rest. That's digest. That's rebuilding. That's sleep. That's staying calm. And we need both. So it's not really that we should always be mellowed out. We would get nothing done, and we would probably be eaten by tigers.
Yes.
Type of thing. The same time, I think right now everyone is chronically running in a sympathetic dominant state, and they're in stages of either
tiger chasing us right now.
Exactly, right. So we're stuck in either like a hyper-stimulated state where we're overreacting to everything, or we've gone past that and we've bottomed out, right? And burnout is no small thing, especially here in Sweden. So it's all really about balancing. And depending on where you're at, there's some different stages. But a big thing to do is to start balancing out the nervous system. And there are 2 points that are actually really good to start checking. So there's oftentimes a little bit of a tender point that you can check first. Over here, it's about spleen 20. And oftentimes, if that is a bit tender...
If I was to do this to myself, which finger would I use?
What do I use? I'd probably use... I use my, third and fourth finger, generally.
Third and fourth finger. So that's your first finger and the one next to it.
Yeah.
And
you're check it in. And we'll put a picture. Yeah. We'll put, drawing up of what it is, right?
Just for the people listening to this, it's just on your, what's this called? Your clavicle? What's the other word for it? Nyckelben. No, that's not the right word. Yes. Collarbone. That's the word I'm looking for. There we go. So if you're heading out towards your shoulder on your collarbone,
you're going to come down.
And before you hit your shoulder, just sort of drop down to where your pec muscles starts to go into your shoulder there.
So it's kind of close to the pec. It's not on the lung, but it's on the spleen channel. And oftentimes, when we're keyed up, it's a little bit sensitive, actually. Another one that can be a little bit sensitive is CV17.
Does it matter if I'm on left or right side?
I actually usually check the left.
Okay, left side.
Yeah. And then the other point that often kind of gets a little bit keyed up with kind of emotions, nervous system tension here is CV17. So it's on the sternum, kind of right sort of between the breast nipple line here. That's what we call it. Yep. So right there, and that's often a little bit of a tender point there as well.
And anybody who's been for a massage with me
knows that those
are released, probably.
Yeah. And those are good. Like, this is a really good point to really open up the chest, and it calms down the nervous system. So it being active is usually kind of a sign that we're a little overwhelmed at the moment.
So if I am at home and I poke this, what's that going to do for me? Other than to go, ow.
Yeah, so that's more of a check-in.
Yep.
So then we'd want to go to, say, try triple burner 5. That's about...
So, for people listening, there's 3 finger widths up from my wrist on my left arm on the top side of my...
And then right in the middle, you're just going to fall into, let me see here, a little divot. So oftentimes, if you sit here, you massage this for a little bit. Yeah. And then you go back and you check this point, it's often released. And the pain is decreasing. No, we'll save that for the punching bag later, Jen. So this is a spot that you can, you can massage it for a little while. Oftentimes it's a little bit sensitive. Yeah. This is another one too. If you don't want to massage as much, you can use an essential oil on it.
What was that called? Triple burner 5.
Triple burner 5.
So if you go Google it, if you need to.
So as you kind of massage that one, that's another one. You've got forearm wrist stuff anyway. Yeah,
I'm a bit twitchy.
So this is one then, right? So you can come back then and you can check these points and see, are they as tight? Have they calmed down, right?
There.
Yeah, so these are alarm points are coming down. This one pairs really well with a point on your foot. Can we see your foot, Joe?
Do you really want to see my foot?
All right. I need the top of your foot, though.
Okay. Well, but
we can do that.
How do we...
You're going to have to turn around, I think.
Right. I didn't know we were going to do this. We're just supposed to be talking.
All right.
Can you see that?
between, this is the two last toes here,
we're on the left foot, right? And you've got
fifth toe.
fourth and fifth toe, between the fourth and fifth toe.
And you just slide right into...
Oh, yeah, no.
This spot.
Cora.
I know.
And to be clear with you people, if we were in Cora's office right now, she'd probably put a needle in that, and
That's true.
It'd hurt really a lot.
True. You can feel those kind of, they're active points, they're tender, right?
Oh, I can feel that up in my neck.
Yeah, I was going to say, these are actually good ones to open up in neck and shoulder, which oftentimes get really tight when we're stressed.
When we're holding on to
right. Our chest closes down, our neck and shoulders get super tight.
Yep.
So massaging these 2 points, you can use an essential oil as well. That's kind of nice, calming one.
What kind of essential oil? I gotta be honest, I'm a bit skeptical about essential oils. That kind of pushes my boundaries. And who knew I had boundaries with this kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just a different way of activating the acupuncture point.
Yeah.
Right. So, the essential oil is optional if you like. But yeah, there's, research showing that those are effective ways as well. I find some people also really find them nice and calming. So if you're going to kind of do like a lavender, bergamot, these things kind of tend to be sort of centering, grounding.
Okay.
Anyway, and then we use those to kind of stimulate those acupuncture points.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. And then the other ones, I would say I usually like to pair those with some kidney adrenal points, right?
Yeah.
Because those are oftentimes worked up. And so we'll show you those. I think it's easier.
Not poking me today in the kidneys.
No. I was going to say, we'll put up a little picture, right? And it's basically on the inside of the ankle.
Inside of the ankle.
Yeah, so kind of right here, like on kidney 7. So it's another good point to kind of massage.
We'll take
inside
a picture
of the
and put
knee.
it up. So you
Yeah.
can see,
So we'll show you those
on me today. No. You will get a punch in the head.
Yeah. But those are good. So that way we've kind of like it's essentially calming down the nervous system and then trying to balance those adrenals a little bit. So they're just good ones to kind of self-massage for a little bit. If you want to do an essential oil, you can do that. People find, there are a lot of those are kind of calming.
Yeah.
Those we call lavender we consider to be kind of an acrid. It has that kind of strong smell. But those acrid herbs really do help release heat and start to calm down the nervous system.
And, it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Just somewhere in the background. I
just a little bit. I personally I don't really like lavender. So
Yeah.
I find it too strong. It's not really my thing. But a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So there's some practical tips that you can all take home with you. And we will make some pictures and put them up in show notes and that kind of stuff. So we got some physical, practical little treatment-y things that people can do at home that's nice and safe. We've got some good nutrition tips there. Bone broth. Yeah. Gotta love the bone broth.
Yeah.
What else can they do? If they want to come and see you, right?
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Because for people who are not allowed out, right? What are the options there?
We've got options. So my practice is still open. So you can come physically see me. Or I'm also doing online consultations. So there, we won't be able to do acupuncture online. However, we still do the full history intake. Look through old labs, talk about new labs, what we might need to get done, kind of go through those because that really helps us to get to a lot of the basic kind of nutritional stuff, hormone balancing, that type of thing. And then we'll put together a treatment plan, right? So considering that, we can look at everything from diet, nutrition, herbs, if we need to kind of coordinate care at any point.
Herbs. What do you mean by, what does that mean? Like, when you say take some herbs, am I going out in the garden and eating a bunch of coriander? What do you mean? But I know,
no, I got you.
Stuff, but, you know what I mean.
Right. So I use both Chinese herbs as well as Western herbs, right?
Are you making people boil up? I used to live with this guy who used to boil up his Chinese herbs.
Oh, Chinese herbs are super stinky.
God,
super stinky.
Crazy.
I studied abroad in China, and I got my pulse read by a Chinese doctor there, and they'd given me these herbs. And I had a host day at the time, right? So I go do my classes, then I kind of come back to my host family, and my sweet host mother would be cooking up the herbs. I could smell them down the alleyway. Like as I turned the corner, I was like, oh gosh, they're my herbs. Totally effective. Very stinky.
Yeah.
No, So these days, I typically, yes, you can still get stinky herbs here. We don't call them stinky herbs, but you can still get
Hi, can I get some stinky herbs?
loose bulk herbs, right? And they are definitely very effective. I do find that they're hard for patient compliance.
Yep.
Myself included.
Yep.
So typically capsules.
Yep.
Tinctures.
Yep.
There are a bunch of places here in Stockholm that carry and deliver home. Lots of places online as well that'll you can purchase them and they'll send them to you. So definitely access there. Herbs they're very effective. I would say I've found a lot of success at helping to really get at a lot of the underlying root causes. As well as really starting to strengthen and balance the system. So you have herbs, for instance, that are really good for balancing out hormones. You've got herbs that are really good at actually enticing the body to start producing stomach acid again, right? Or to, start balancing out the microflora that you got, your gut flora, or getting, more regular motility. And what's nice about a lot of herbs and how we use them is we're about stimulating a reaction from the body rather than taking a medication that's creating an effect on the body, right? Because ultimately the goal is, anyone can give you a laxative. But if you have to take laxatives your whole life, how far have we really gotten, right? So instead, if we can look at what are the main factors as to why your digestion isn't working, right? Getting enough water, are you getting enough fiber? Do you have enough pancreatic acid? Do you have enough stomach acid? Is there rhythmic motility? What's the liver gallbladder doing? What's the gut flora? Is there a thyroid issue that could be slowing things down? So there are all of these different factors that we want to figure out, okay, what are the main players? But how do we stimulate them to start doing their job again? Because if not, we're just kind of suppressing and maintaining. Yep. So herbs are a fantastic tool in kind of helping to stimulate the body to start doing its thing again.
And help the body heal itself.
Exactly, right? So first we kind of figure out what the problem is. We have a little conversation with that part of the body. We give it some tools, and then, we get it back online. This kind of thing.
Nice.
Yeah. So herbs is definitely a tool to do that.
Yep.
I have also done some guided acupressure with people online as well. And that's something that we kind of figure out kind of where the sensitive points are, what releases them. So individual prescriptions that they can kind of do at home, once a day. So we can do that really, the biggest drawback to being online is that you just can't do the acupuncture itself. Everything else we pretty much have access to do. And really it's it's an in-depth exploration into your health and how we kind of get out of these chronic states, whether it's not, getting quality regular sleep, low energy, taking a longer time to rebound from colds and flus, digestive stuff, hormone stuff, you name it. Yeah. Really. Yeah. So, and I will say Chinese medicine herbs are fantastic at balancing hormones. Yep. Lots of, whether it's hot flashes, menstrual cycles, heavy bleeding, all of these things. It's really a friend to women. Yeah. anyone with a uterus or ovaries. Yeah. Good to know. Yeah. We're going to talk about that.
Awesome. Is there anything else you want to throw on there?
Yeah. Be kind to yourself right now. I think we are putting a lot of expectations on what we should or shouldn't be doing in these 3 months wherever we are. And, just be gentle. Put the kids' gloves on for your kids, but put them on for yourself too. Yeah. And just kind of take the small steps, right, of keeping yourself healthy and sane.
One simple step.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome. That was fun.
Oh, wait. Can't go yet. If people want to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Of course. Online, CoraForstenWellness.com. You can find my website there. It's got my contact here in Sweden. You can also just email me at CoraForstenWellness@gmail.com if you've got any questions. And it's the easiest way to find me.
You're on Facebook and Instagram.
I am. Yeah.
We'll put links.
Yes.
In the show notes somewhere. But anyway. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Guys, be kind to yourselves, okay? We're going through a rough time. Take it easy. Not too easy, but take it easy. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.